right, it's become a big issue right now, the issue over masks. Dr. Fauci says you should wear them, and Rand Paul, the senator, says, Dr. Fauci's going a little overboard here. I'm probably putting a kinder spin on it than it deserves because they got in each other's faces. The senator joins us right now. Senator, your view on the mask thing is when you said of Dr. Fauci, it isn't about science, it's about submission. What did you mean by that?
Well, I think the burden should be on government. If the government's going to tell you can't go anywhere unless you're wearing a mask, they should tell you why, and they should present the evidence. So, for example, we have about 100 million people that have gotten the vaccine now, maybe a little bit shy of that. We've got about 30 million people that have been infected. The government needs to prove and show me a study that says that those people are still transmitting the disease and that they are a problem to public health. What Dr. Fauci said is they might be. He's sort of like, what if they could spread the disease? Well, that sounds to me like conjecture. And you could look at Dr. Fauci and say, well, what if the Spanish flu comes back? Shouldn't we wear a mask every year for the rest of our life because someday the Spanish flu is going to come back? See, that's not science. That's sort of emotionalism and fear-mongering. And so Dr. Fauci needs to put up or shut up. He needs to show us the scientific evidence that it's a problem after you've been vaccinated or after you've already gotten the disease naturally. So far, there's no evidence that there's widespread disease happening from people who have already had the disease or have already been vaccinated.
But in some cases, right, Senator, you can't tell, right? So someone who's been vaccinated might say, well, I don't have to wear a mask now anyway, but others might interpret that and get anxious. So where, as a doctor yourself, where do you stand on the use of masks, period, right now at this stage?
Well, I think I'm unequivocally for freedom, for a free society, and each individual would make their own decisions. So, if you have cancer, you might want to continue to wear a mask for all of the time. That's the way it was in the past. Those who were at risk did wear a mask, and those who were not at risk didn't wear a mask. So people would make that decision. And the thing is no matter how much these nanny staters want to tell us what to do, you can see it in people's eyes. I meet people all the time now in restaurants, 75 years old, and they say, I'm 2 weeks out, I'm finally free, and I'm going to restaurants again. I'm saying, good for them. I'm going to go to church again. Dr. Fauci doesn't know any of this. He's making conjecture saying, what if the South African strain the vaccine doesn't work against them? What I say to Dr. Fauci is, show me that the variants are escaping it. Show me that there's this mass contagion going on from people being reinfected who have been vaccinated or have it again. I'll reassess. I will reassess and I will consider the data. But so far, all he's telling me is his opinion. And really their opinion is, look, they had another one of these vaccine doctors on television. He was like, oh, it's about civility. Well, civility's not science. For goodness sake, show us some evidence to back up these mandates.
So what do you do when you and your wife go to a restaurant and the patron of the restaurant says we have a mask policy when you come in? Obviously, you can take them off when you eat. What do you do?
Yeah, we do what we're forced to do to live in Dr. Fauci's world, but someone has to contend with him and show him that his edicts are not based on science. For example, how many people watching this program have walked into a restaurant, put their mask on for 10 feet, and seen 400 people look up at you who are all not wearing their masks, all in an enclosure breathing? Do you think those 10 steps of wearing your mask meant anything? That's non-science. That basically is someone expressing some sort of form of civility, but has nothing to do with science. You're on the airplane, you wear a mask, you're sitting this far from people, and then they say when you get off, we're going to get off 6 feet apart now. I've been sitting next to some guy 3 inches from me the whole time, but now we're going to use science, and he has to go 6 feet in front of me to get off the plane. None of this is based in science. It's all emotionalism, and we're going to be here forever if we keep listening to these people. The simple fact is, if you've been vaccinated and you're 2 weeks out from your second one, throw your mask away and do what you want, because Dr. Fauci is overkill on all of this.
You don't like Dr. Fauci, do you?
No, I just think he's a government bureaucrat. Look, this is a guy who spent his whole life working for government, and he's never met an edict. Look, he's a popular guy now, all over CNN every minute. I don't know how he gets any work done because he's on television nonstop, but all he wants to do is tell you what you can't do. But then you ask him for the science, and he says, what if? He says maybe one of these variants might not respond to the vaccine. But it turns out the preponderance of scientific evidence now shows that the vaccines do cover the variants. And on the rare occasion that someone's gotten sick after a vaccine, they've been asymptomatic or mildly symptomatic. So what Dr. Fauci and his ilk need to show us, and I'll revisit the question, if he shows me mass hospitalization and mass deaths from people who've been vaccinated or from people who have had the disease again. Until we see that, everything he's saying is not consistent with the science. He wants you to walk around like a zombie, breathing through 3 different masks. There's no study on wearing 2 masks. There are studies showing cloth masks don't work, and I don't hear him saying that. The one thing he could do if he wanted to help, the one public service announcement he could give is that monoclonal antibodies work, and a lot of the American public doesn't know this. If you're getting sicker and you begin to have a bronchitis and you're in any kind of risk group, if you get the monoclonal antibodies in a certain window, they can save your life. If you wait too long, you can die because there's a window of time when they'll give you the monoclonal antibodies, and there's a period of time when you're too sick. But nobody's talking about that because it's Dr. Fauci talking about, wearing 3 masks, instead of talking about real science that monoclonal antibodies will save your life if you get in time.
Got it. I just thought you didn't like him because he was Italian-American. I was hoping that wasn't the case. It doesn't appear to be. Let me switch gears, Senator. The president recently, that is the former President Donald Trump, named you among a select group he called very good Republicans, maybe even possible 24 Republican candidates. You're right up there with Ron DeSantis, Josh Hawley, Ted Cruz, Sarah Sanders, Kristi Noem. How do you feel about being on a list like that? And would it influence whether you run for president if he runs for president?
I don't know and have not made any decisions about myself personally, but what I can say is that we have to figure out how to get more votes. I know that sounds simple. Donald Trump brought a lot of new people to our party. Working class people, the salt of the earth, good people came to our party that had not been in our party before, and then some people left the party. He did get more votes in 2020 than 2016, but we still have to get yet more votes. So we have to take the base that Trump built, the party that Trump has built, and we have to make it even bigger. And so whether that's Donald Trump or somebody new, it has to be, we have to bring in more African-American voters, more Hispanic voters, more Asian voters. And we really have to try hard and go after many of these different groups and show them that we are a welcoming party. And I think that there's a huge potential that's untapped, particularly among Asian Americans. Asian Americans in general, it's not a very good categorization, but if you put all Asian Americans in one group, probably 2 out of 3 vote Democrat. Certain different pockets from different countries we're doing better with, but I think as a category we should do a lot better because I think there's a lot of things that we have in common. With many of these are first, second generation to our country, but I think one of it has to be that we have to show a more welcoming side to immigrants in general, particularly those who are coming to our country lawfully.